What?
Do it live.
Yo, we are live. What's going
Feedback.
on? Go ahead and as people start to come in, please do me a favor, share this video, like this video. So I was just about to tell a story to Casey and Dave. I figured I would just do it live to start out episode 130. So I'm curious to see how many people we have actually come and watch this episode. So I learned something important, and somebody has told me this, and I forgot about it. So I went to the Charlie Kirk event last night. I tagged TPUSA, and I tagged Charlie Kirk in that in a video that I did, not a live, but I tagged them, and they're like, "Be careful who you tag, because afterwards you will be massively censored." So I did a live on my drive home today, which typically at that time, minimum of 20 to 30 viewers, maximum 60 to 70. I had 2 and 1. And I was like, oh, snap. So then I'm noticing comments on it now saying they never got notified. What are you seeing, Casey?
I did the same thing on Twitter.
Yeah. So
you're saying this. I realized, like, one day, all of a sudden, all of my stuff on Twitter just came to a halt.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did I do?
Yeah. So anyways, guys, do us a huge favor. You can smash the like button. You don't have to just hit it once. You just, if you're on your phone, just heart. I have to learn from my mistake on not tagging a conservative organization, because apparently on the meta webs, it will get you just squashed. As we can see right now, we're at 13 from Facebook. So it's going to take a little bit to probably swap it around. So do us a favor, share it out, like it, etc. Yeah. So super interesting stuff. That's the world that is the world that we live in. And it sometimes when things are going good and people are sharing videos, like Casey and I both got several thousand views in the rallies that we went to, like things are feeling good, and we forget how easily that can stop just based on the social media overlords that don't want a difference in opinion. So Deborah had, well, so no notification on Facebook. YouTube should be a little bit better, but yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to put that out there. I want to tell them this. It's just fascinating. And I remember when I was getting my social media coaching from Nicole Sarantek, she's like, you have to be careful who you tag on Instagram and on Facebook, because it will affect your next couple posts. I was like, oh, and here we are. Casey, I did a 20-minute. I'm not going to lie, for those of you guys watching at the beginning of this, watch the live I did earlier. I think I nailed it. I think I killed it. And I was talking and I'm watching the thing. It was anywhere from 1 to 3 people for most of it. We peaked at 8. Shocking. So anyways, this is Truth Will Set You Free, episode 130. We are officially just over 8 weeks away from the Great American Summit. We've got a lot going on, some good things this week. What's our show topics? We're talking about the new Patriot Act, seemingly, with TikTok, the potential TikTok ban, which we thought might have been good, but maybe not. We're going to talk about obviously everything that happened in Nashville, and just the obviously push for gun control, and avoidance of the transgender issue on it. And then and then I'm going to talk a little bit about, Casey went on to a rally this week. I went to the Trump rally, and I also went to Charlie Kirk and some other TPUSA stuff. So I think there's a lot of good stuff coming on the conservative and Republican side. So not all is lost. We've got some good news here. So again, guys, share it out. Give me some thumbs up. Keep hitting I see 9 people have liked and thumbs up. Everybody hit it right meow. Dave, what's going on in your world? You're muted. Still muted. Still muted. Can he not hear? Oh, he does sign language.
I do sign language. What's new in my world? Yep. Well, I'm solo this week with 5 dogs and 2 horses and a cat, because Barb's in Cancun, Mexico for a speaking engagement. So she's having a good time. Small group of people, I think more of like a mastermind type deal, but she presented yesterday. She absolutely killed it. The audience loved it. So super stoked and excited and proud of her. And
was she wearing the pantsuit?
What's that?
Was she rocking a pantsuit?
Probably not. No,
okay.
That's only for people named Hillary Clinton.
Got it. Okay. Right. And her at the summit last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Did she?
Yeah, that was why I gave her a talk smack on the stage where I said nobody pulls off a pantsuit.
That's right. The first day she had a black pantsuit. Yeah, but she pulled it off pretty good.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Other than that, got my local my real estate business here in New York, and we're forging ahead, doing what we can to promote and get people at the Great American Summit in Dallas, Texas, June 2nd and 3rd.
Yes, sir. Casey, what's cracking on your end?
Everything. No, but it's good. It's one of the things I'm excited to talk about tonight is this stupid bill with TikTok. Like you guys all know I want it gone. I want TikTok banned, but this bill's not the answer.
Not at that cost. Yeah. We're going to get into it. Casey, I have not had this is going to be a reaction for me because I don't know the full ins and outs of the bill. And Casey is one of the few human beings that I know I can trust with information. So I'll base it off of that. And then I'll, of course, look at some of the other, I'll look at things while we're on the show. For those of you that don't know after the show, which again, I picked a bad time to get shadow banned, but at 8:30 Eastern time, I'm going to open up the StreamYard. I've posted it already, and I am going to welcome all lefties. So it'll pretty much be me talking to the screen by myself for 30 minutes, waiting to see if any of the people that the ultra left who have been all over my posts lately want to actually come have a conversation. I'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to talking about the Charlie Kirk and the kind of move of the conservative movement. And with that, as Dave kind of talked about, we're trying to talk a lot about the Great American Summit. It's just going to take a couple big sponsors to come in on top of everybody that can go to the event. When I was passing out flyers, telling people about Dr. Peter McCullough coming the first night, people are so madly interested and they all want to go. And it's just go buy some damn tickets. Even if you're not sure, putting the killer $97 down. Oh my goodness. The $97, that'll get you general admission for 2 days. And for Dr. Peter McCullough, if you're one of the first, I don't know if we're doing 150 tickets, so you have to buy them now because that helps us also get sponsorships. Or if you're somebody that is like, I need to sponsor a cause unlike any other. And when I say that, it's because this event is business and patriotism mixed together. There's not a lot of events like this. Be a part of it, and you get to be with the speakers. You get to be with the Kevin Freemans, the Chad O'Jacksons, the Chad Prathers, if you are one of the sponsors, Patriot Pass, etc. That's it on the event. Let's go ahead and let's kick the tires, light the fires, and start this episode 130 of Truth Will Set You Free, which is right there. That's right. Episode 130, Truth Will Set You Free. Truth Will Set You Free Tuesday. We are back in action. We've got Dave. We've got Casey. We've got all these straight white males on the screen representing all of what apparently is wrong with society, if you ask mainstream media. And for this episode 130, we are going to be talking about everything from the TikTok ban bill, which sounds good on paper when you say it out loud, but apparently not. And of course, the whole tragedy that happened in Nashville and just gun control, gun rights, and mental health issues at the same time. And then at the end, we're going to end with a good note talking about some of our experiences last weekend with all the good stuff going on with Charlie Kirk, Trump, and conservatism. Not necessarily Trump, but people that are out there going, there's something wrong with this country. How do we fix it? Casey, we're starting with the Patriot Act, my friend. So I'm sorry.
Hold on. We got to make this right.
What? There it is.
Now we all have one.
By the way, at the Charlie Kirk event, I was wearing this hat with the Unveed Lives Matter shirt, and I probably should have brought more cards. It boggles my mind how many people asked for the website. We're talking out of 500 people there. I told 100 people I gave 40 business cards of it. And have I seen any sales today? No. Buy something. Anyways, that's my rant. Okay, Casey, let's start out with the modern day Patriot Act. And I love that we're all matching with the Awake Now Woke hat.
Yeah. This bill's dangerous, guys. And I'm gonna rain on some people that are Rand Paul parade. Rain on their parade a little bit for their supporters, because Rand Paul's fighting for this to get rid of the bill and not pass it. But he's saying it violates First Amendment. He's not actually addressing the root of why this bill should not pass. And let me show you why.
You see, one of Rand Paul's aides got stabbed today?
Yes. And yeah, that was fun and eventful. Like, yeah, the stab. And then all of a sudden a shooting. And everybody's like, see, well, only Republicans fight for guns. And it's like, see, other things can happen without a gun. Like, what's your point? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But this bill is dangerous. Let me explain why. It is not just banning TikTok. This bill is not the same bill I read when this came out. Something changed. I don't know when, but I went through to try to prove what I was sent. I was sent a couple TikTok videos by people that went over this, and I went back and I reviewed it. Yeah. So first of all, if you were to break these rules and go around them, their punishment is $1 million. Well, let me back up. It is 1 million people. Any company that services over 1 million people is subject to this regulation. So if you serve 1 million people, you are subject to this regulation in this bill. That's every cable provider. That's every cell phone carrier. That is everything. Like, it is crazy. That is what it is outlining here.
Would that include Amazon and
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's every software or service provider. So Amazon, I assume this would be Amazon Prime Video, not necessarily like their Prime service, but their Prime Video. Those type of things are all subject to this bill and apply. Okay, fine. I'm not a fan of regulation. You guys know this. But okay, I can understand the stance. The problem we have with this bill, where is that again? In here, software primarily used in connectivity, so desktops, mobile applications, gaming, is all. Oh no, what did I do?
Richard, what'd you do?
So in here, this bill, where is the punishment portion? And I want to show you this, but oh man, where did it go? Anyways, the punishment is pretty extreme also.
If you want to see what he's looking at, this is what. Oops.
Oh, where did you go?
Why is it up on the screen? I don't see it.
You don't see it?
Dave, do you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, I'm dumb. All right. I don't know
why
I don't.
I was like, I see it on my screen. I assumed I should have checked.
There it is. I got it. My bad.
Okay, good.
I was trying to do something new and fresh in StreamYard, and I have no idea what I was doing. So pay no attention to me.
So this is taking some of the code sections that is outlined in the Patriot Act. It is referring to some of the laws in the Patriot Act. Does everybody remember? Do you guys know what the Patriot Act was and how significant of an impact it was to Americans and their privacy?
Yes, and that ushered essentially where we are right now. That's what ushered it in.
Pretty much, yeah. And so they did that all for spying because of terrorists, right? And so we did that just to protect us from terrorists and make everybody safe.
Which so there is the school of conspiratorial thought that if those people believe that we had something to do with 9/11, that the people that essentially could have potential, and this is conspiracy, and I'll leave it at that, is whatever, that there was a purpose behind what happened in that tragedy, so that they could bring this legislation in, which is the Patriot Act, which was a direct response to September 11th. And essentially it was under the guise of dramatically increasing and strengthening national security. The problem is it pretty much allows the government to see, hear everything that we're doing.
Yeah, there's no such thing as internet privacy. That's why everything you post on the internet is going to go through the big NSA building that is only 30 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And it is disgusting. We should be trusting, Americans should be trusted with their privacy, and government should not be involved in it. Anyways, where this regulation is coming in, this is actually applying, they're posing this as TikTok giving government for justification for regulation of industries that they're not regulating right now or increasing regulation. But it is also adding to the situation when it comes to who can pull or ban a service. So when it comes to pulling or banning a service, this also frees it up to where it could be anything with 1 million subscribers or more. So like these service providers. So that means if these services want to do something, which I'm going to touch on here in just a minute, let's say we want to talk about a little bit about an election and some issues with an election. Those are strategically part of this that cannot be discussed in some of these service providers. And the government can regulate on that if you talk about elections.
So haven't they already done that already, though? I mean, but they've just done it more one-sided. I mean, I feel like...
No. This means the government can actually cancel a service. So say Newsmax, for example. Newsmax just came back to DirecTV, right? Newsmax, if Newsmax wanted to talk freely about what they want to talk about, the government could come in and shut down services.
So if they went and did something like questioning the 2020 erection, if they did that, then they actually could be shut down by the federal government, not by DirecTV, but the federal government then would have the control to say, no, this is not the correct narrative. Or say somebody like Tucker Max came on and talked ill about the Smaxiganation, then they also can remove them from the platform, the government, not DirecTV.
Correct. So this is also calling for, they can call for an audit or an investigation into any of these companies at any time, because the government already has this law passed to where they can enforce that. Instead of going to a vote, going to a committee to encourage, like, for example, to bring TikTok in, the CEO of TikTok, they didn't need to have a committee agree to bring him in and actually have him sit in front of the Congress. And that would go away. You wouldn't need that committee anymore to make a decision. This is a very big overreach of government, all because of one application. This is one of the things that I keep saying, that you got to be careful what you ask of the federal government, because you want them to take an inch, but they will take a mile, and they will use it to their advantage.
And this isn't just the lefties. And Dave, go ahead next. But there's Republicans that are supporting this bill as well. Not as many as the Democrats. But any Republican that is supporting this bill, and I don't like to use the word rhino, but that this is the right example of it. This is not limited government. This is incredibly major oversight. This is encroaching on, completely spying on the individual and then censoring based on whatever the government wants. This is a move to a one source media. This is Russia. This is China. This is one state media. This is scary stuff that shouldn't be anywhere near allowed in the United States of America. Because again, like Rand Paul did say, this goes against every element of First Amendment rights. Dave, what do you think?
It's I mean, this isn't anything new. They always take one issue and then they write a bill about it, and then that's supposed to be the main issue, is supposed to be in the bill. Then we find that the bill has 90% of it is going after all these other things, right? They
Correct.
just load it with pork and all this other garbage. It's the same adage, like, never let a good crisis go to waste. Like,
Yep.
we have a crisis with TikTok, and they're not letting it go to waste so they can have, more control over the airwaves and the media and the news and private entities and services and all this other stuff. When at the end of the day, like, this whole argument was over the fact that TikTok is basically a Chinese owned social media company.
Correct.
Owned by this. So why can't we just have a one-page bill that says we're banning TikTok until, and it's being removed off of all app stores until the company, the U.S. interests are sold to an American company.
Right.
Like, simple as that, right? And it's almost like dangling that carrot. Like, hey, you want to have TikTok in America? Fine. You have to sell the American interest to an American-based company. Until you do, It won't be available on Google. It won't be available on iTunes or anywhere else. You cannot get it. What do you think ByteDance is going to do? They're going to sell it. Of course they're going to sell it because it's money. And it's as simple as that. But they have to go through this whole garbage thing, go after our rights, our constitutional rights, our freedoms, go after services, and all this in fine print. No one else knows about it unless people are have enough interest to actually do the research themselves. Otherwise, it gets brushed under the rug. No one pays attention to it until it actually affects our society, because they don't let you talk about elections, or you say something wrong on Facebook or social media and they pull the plug on the service. Like this is a slippery slope, and they do this shit all the fucking time.
Can I pose a question for you, Dave? Because you were the first one out of all of us to get rid of TikTok. And part of me, I'm in agreement. Like TikTok, the fact that it is run by one of our foreign adversaries that have access to every bit of data, but you can argue little things when it comes to like Facebook. There's a lot of access. Our phones are made in China. Like there's a lot of access. When it comes to this narrative that painted TikTok so bad, and I do agree how bad it is. The CEO was brought up on stage. They are on for testimony on stage. Same thing. It's a gigantic show. And he talked about, yes, we used to have things happening behind the scenes where we were stealing user data. He admitted that, but he said that that's been fixed. So maybe have they done everything that the government has told them? And remember, Trump wanted to just have it sold. Trump's been asking for this for a while. Like, let's just sell it to an American entity. So do you think maybe some of this now was continued, and even the left jumped in? If you notice, there was lefties that were out there going, we got to ban TikTok. This is what's happening is wrong. We're like, oh, finally they're starting to see the light. Or was this all part of a master marketing plan to try to usher in legislation that looked just like this?
Well, at face value right now, after sharing this, it looks like it was a total ruse and a bait and switch. Hey, we know the populace, right? There's a huge swath of a huge segment that wants to get rid of TikTok, thinking it's dangerous. It's a Chinese spy app. So let's use that, right? Because we couldn't care less either way. Let's use that to pass this bill through, knowing that ByteDance is probably going to sell to an American company anyway. But now at least we'll have this. Right? Yeah. I totally agree. That's why this bill is here. Of course, that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't think that
if that wasn't the intent, then we wouldn't see everything that Casey just shared.
Yeah, very much by design, in my opinion. Go ahead.
The other thing that's crazy with this is just to outline, like interfering in or altering the result or reported result of a federal election. So in that, if you were to say, for example, Tim Pool, everybody knows I love Tim Pool, and I like a lot of his thought process around some of these things. And he is a big proponent for ballot harvesting. He wants to see everybody in the states that ballot harvesting is legal for everybody to do it. He wants to see that. He says that's the way we're going to win elections. That is altering the result of an election, because he is telling people to do something on social media that could impact that. So all of these services will be subject to silence his message.
Yep.
Or else they will get penalized by the government over this.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like if he was telling them to do something, illegal, but I don't know. It's just a really slippery slope, and this is why everyone hates Congress. This is why their approval rating is in the single digits right now, is because of this crap. Like the red tape, the bureaucracy, the control. I mean, why can't we just keep things simple? Just keep it simple. It's so frustrating.
When I first read this, it was a very short few pages, and it was very explicit, outlined TikTok by name, who the parent company is, mentioned a whole bunch of that. And now I see all of this. You have hosting services, cloud-based services,
internet hosting services.
Oh, what did I do? Stop. It's trying to read it to me. I don't like websites that do this. But the punishment is ridiculous. I can't remember where it went, but it is super not fair for what's going on and what this could be spent and utilized as. And no one should be trusting our federal government with this type of control.
So Casey, where are they right now? Like, do they have enough votes?
That's what I was just going to get to. I was making sure everybody understood the impact, because to address these 3 comments, what are you going to do about it? It's all talk. It's all talk. Well, right now it's already passed the House. The House passed this, and that was your security net. Because right now you are reliant on Democrats in the Senate to come together and stop this. And that's the problem. And Rand Paul coming out today and saying this violates the First Amendment, I appreciate, but he needs to be explicitly calling out these details and saying, no, this is an overreach. We do not need to be doing that. It's not just a First Amendment thing. And these bills need to be put in front of people so they actually see them. No one sees them. Everybody just knows TikTok ban bill. That's all they hear. And so we have to, if you want to do something about this and you do not want to see this bill pass, which I highly recommend you to get behind, email every senator that represents you and tell them no. No one should pass this bill. And I'm very disappointed in the House that they have already passed it. This bill has already passed through the House. So as soon as it passes through the Senate, Joe Biden's just going to wake up in the morning and sign it.
I think it's a little, I mean, we say, what do we do? You got to, I mean, at this point, and this is part of my frustration with how we even engage with officials is, email them, and I agree. Like you have to overwhelm their offices. But the fact that it's passed the House at this point, and now we have the Senate that loves to control everything coming out. And of course, Joey Basements also is going to be somebody that's proponent. I think we're a little far down the road right now. I think TikTok's going to be banned, and I think this is going to be instituted, which is a scary thought.
These people that go out there, like my Instagram videos, I get people all the time. Great. What are we going to do about it? Like, well, that's a fucking great attitude, right? What about the fact that we're just freaking talking about it? What about that we're raising awareness to other people who might be able to pass that on to other people? Like, that's how change happens. If you don't recall, it was not too long ago that what was the I just lost my train of thought. What was the last thing that the debt forgiveness with all the colleges,
student loan forgiveness?
That was going to happen. And so many people said, whoa, spoke up, complained. And it came to a point that it was a critical mass, right? There was enough people outraged about it that the shit went away. It got stopped. Like, that's the point of doing that, speaking up about it. Like, can we personally go in there and stop the bill from happening? No, but if there's something so egregious and so unconstitutional that affects us all, if we're not willing to raise our voice over something like that, then just move to another country.
Right. And to be clear, I misspoke. It passed the House committee, so it will be going to the House for vote. But Kevin McCarthy says they're going to move forward with this legislation. So I think he believes this is going forward.
So the other thing that can happen, and Dave just brought up a very valid point, is Supreme Court can step in.
Yes.
So based on somebody like a Josh Hawley or a Rand Paul, they can raise a suspicion. They can have their state Supreme Court step up and do something. So that's why we have to continue to use their voice. So Dave answered the question. So for everybody saying what to do, that is the answer. And that's why it is important that you send emails and messages and you fight for it, because then you get your constituents, especially your local ones, because the local ones, that is who they represent. And if somebody brings this to the Supreme Court, in my mind, with a conservative Supreme Court, this is the beauty of the checks and balances. This will not go through because it is a clear infringement of the First Amendment.
Yeah, people want TikTok banned. They didn't ask for all this other shit.
They didn't.
No. Government regulation is evil. You should never ask for government regulation.
And then I get the same people, right, who push back against the TikTok ban, saying, "Oh, well, everyone has our information," or they go the angle about the content that's actually on the platform. Well, you can be a better parent, and you don't necessarily have to download the app, or you don't have to share it or participate. That's not what this is about. This is about a app that 150 million Americans have downloaded on their phone, on their device that they use every single day to interact with their families, with their coworkers, with the rest of the country. And it's fucking owned by a communist country that wants to literally decimate us and take over the entire globe as the #1 economy. Like, come on.
You forgot.
The writing's on the wall. Like, how dumb can you be?
You forgot to mention that it was also called out. I think it was Ted Cruz called it out. Why is TikTok banned in China? TikTok is banned in China, but it's available for everybody else.
It's regulated.
The version we have is banned. So
Correct.
what they have, it's strictly educational, and it's not even called TikTok, but it's the same platform. But yeah, and we don't realize that it is actually banned in China, because on top of it spies on us, also they get to control the algorithm. And if anybody watched the movie The Social Network, you can control the minds of the groupthink of a whole country if you control the algorithm. So if there's 150,000 people on a platform, and say 150 million people on a platform, and 50 million of them are regular users that are constantly on it, you can guide the thought of a country with 2 hours a day of vegetation on their brain.
And Anthony, of course you can. It's half the country. It's literally half the country.
Well, and it's half the country, but also keep in mind that 150 million is probably closer to about 3/4 of the of people that have phones, cell phones. If you were to actually do the math, because a lot of the older generation won't have TikTok.
Correct. So it's half, right. So it's the most vulnerable and influenced and manipulated part of our country.
Correct. So Kelly asked an interesting question. Why would, and I'll answer, I mean, either of you guys can answer it or I can. So why would China ban it for their own citizens? It actually still can, first off, I'll just say it can promote free thought in some ways. Because two, they still have the apps that can completely spy on their people. China has CCTV at every corner. They've got social credit scores. They've got Weibo. Weibo is like our Facebook that also allows them to monitor the social credit score is major there. So they don't need TikTok. So TikTok in its form to them is dangerous to the adults, but they already have plenty of ways of spying on their people. They don't need any more.
So I have a question for you guys, which I thought of the other day. Why isn't Twitter and Meta pushing to have TikTok banned? Wouldn't it be in their best interest to have TikTok completely off the map?
Yes.
Well, because you're actually asking for the government to do something, so it's asking for government regulation that can be imposed and used against them.
No, but they're American companies. Like that's again, that's not what the argument here is, right? Twitter, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk could come out today and be like, we support a TikTok ban because it is a app owned by the CCP. And until that is not the case, we will stand by that it should be removed and banned in the United States. Like, it would be in their best interest to do that.
I could see Elon not doing it for that because he doesn't want the government involved in any of those things. And that's why in a couple days he's releasing the source code to how Twitter functions with all your recommended newsfeed.
Do you find it interesting that Instagram now and Meta is now adding the paid blue check marks? Oh,
no.
But
I think it's hilarious.
It's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Okay.
What if the government right now, where there's a big push about wanting to decouple from China, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your argument goes by then why should the government decide whether to decouple from China? It's the same thing.
Agreed.
I don't disagree. I just, with how closely I follow Elon Musk, I can see him not asking the government to do anything. Facebook, I don't know. I think Facebook's trying to figure out how to stay afloat. I think they're worried about failing in the coming years.
Well, let's not forget that Elon Musk generates billions of dollars from his ties to China. So
a little bit, yeah. That's true. That is very true.
Was that Steve Bannon that just went ham on him? Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Bannon's not much of an Elon fan.
I know. And honestly, I got his point and I looked into that data and I I see why he says that, but ultimately so does Trump. Like, if people still make a lot of money off of China, if you're in big business, you have to deal with China. You have to. That's just the way things are set up. So that's why I don't have a huge problem with the fact that he does have ties. He has tried moving more. Elon has tried moving more and more of his outsourcing to the United States and other more democracy-based nations. But there's only so much you can do if you want to be competitive. There is no. This is to me the bigger picture. The whole swordfish concept, which is, do you kill one to save 1,000? And for him, if he is not making enough money through Tesla, and he's going to say, I'm going to completely use technology that's American, these Teslas are going to be $500,000. You don't sell any Teslas, you won't make any money. Then you don't have the power to control free speech. I'm still an Elon fan, even after hearing everything Bannon have to say. I have to be very clear. So Elon is doing business in China. Everybody does business in China. There's people that are upper middle class that have sourcing companies. For example, as much as we hate to say it, our T-shirts are not Dave's. Dave actually gets his from the United States, but the T-shirts that we use, some of those are sourced because otherwise we don't make any money anyways. But if we did, we'd be then having to buy T-shirts that we would resell for $60 a piece, $70 a piece, and we would sell none instead of the one or two we actually sell. So it's just, there is a thought process that you still have to do some business with China until the whole paradigm is switched. And Elon Musk is somebody that I would prefer to have $200 billion in his coffers and trying to change the bigger picture for the good. We could have other conversations about Neuralink because that shit scares the hell out of me, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, I think that the majority of our nation, literally, they either have no clue about China's very public written declaration and intent on where they plan to be by 2035.
Right.
Like, unless something stark and drastic happens in terms of decision making in this country and with our leaders, we will be overrun and we will all be speaking Mandarin. And maybe it's a little hyperbole, but like, that's, to me, like, it's that stark. Like, it's that we're at that tipping point right now that something drastic needs to be done. I mean, this is a country that still has, they're still considered as a developing nation.
Yeah.
Like, they're the second largest economy in the world. Why do they have that status? Like, there's little things like levers that could be pulled to really rein them in, but it doesn't seem like anyone has the backbone to do it.
And now it makes it even more risky now that they have now teamed up with, besides Russia, also, are they with Iran now?
They're working with Iran and Saudi Arabia.
I thought Saudi Arabia was teaming with, no, you're right. Saudi Arabia. So so now they've actually built the war backing in order to be even more untouchable. It's scary.
I talk to Barb. I say things all the time because I believe it, like that they're literally the Fourth Reich.
China?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not Russia. China. And then they're more, it's kind of falls under the axis of evil. Like that's essentially what they're forming.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Nashville. And unlike Joe Biden, this is obviously a tough topic. It's not something that you talk about chocolate chip ice cream when you lead into it, like he did, which was absolutely absurd. In his first press conference, where it was supposed to be not press conference, first on television event where it was supposed to be, he talked about it.
Could you imagine if Trump did that? He came down and all of a sudden he was talking about Burger King or McDonald's or something. Like,
it would be done. You can't even.
I cannot believe that did not get more airplay than it did.
I tried looking up because I wanted to copy the clip. You can't find it on CNN or MSNBC. So the people on the left don't even know that he did it. And that's where I do think Fox is better. Like, I'm gonna look it up right now if there's anything about Biden talking about ice cream. Let's see.
He went on for a good 15 minutes or longer before he even addressed the
Hold on, there's a fact check. I gotta see this. So they've fact checked it. This is gonna be interesting. Let's start with Snopes. Did Biden joke about ice cream before Nashville shooting remark? So instead of saying true, Snopes says correct attribution, but with context. While this is such a fucking joke. While Biden opened his first public remarks after the school shooting with lighthearted jokes, these remarks were made as part of his pre-scheduled appearance at a women's business summit. This was not a news conference called for the express purpose of speaking at the shooting, though he did address the tragedy later in this speech. Can you imagine the difference in coverage for Snopes, like you said, if this was Trump? I'm going to look at Newsweek's fact check. I want to see if anybody actually says false. The claim, the facts. It doesn't even have a true or false.
Did he give the Businesswoman of the Year award to a man?
Not at this event, but at another event.
Okay, just checking.
Oh my God. While Biden may have, so the claim is that he made a joke about ice cream while children and adults were massacred in Nashville. This includes the footage of Biden making a joke. The facts. While Biden may have a propensity, holy shit, I haven't looked at this yet. While Biden may have a propensity for awkward comments, his remarks have been taken out of context before. In May of 2022, he was said to have remarked, "Don't jump," to a group of Paralympians when he was actually speaking to a photographer. It is true that Biden made lighthearted remarks about ice cream shortly before subsequently turning his attention to the Nashville shooting. There's important context to know, which is where they give the whole speech. If you are a lefty and can look at this with a discerning brain, if you still have one, and realize the hypocrisy in this, maybe there's hope for you. But if you can't, you are too stupid to have a conversation, which is, again, where I will plug right after this at 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern. If there is any lefties, I will be here with open office hours on a live to see if anybody comes in. That is mind-boggling. Anyways, I just looked at this. This is ridiculous. Oh, man.
So on to the
topic.
Topic.
And yet, by the way, as I'm going through, still nothing on CNN or nothing talking about it. Even you have to go to Breitbart, Fox News, Newsweek on MSN was a fact check. Nothing on mainstream media except for a Fox about.
They won't touch it. They won't touch it.
So I'm going to bring this up. So here's the big issue. Because I'm going to play contrarian about some of the stuff near the end, but this is, a lot of people may not know that this was going on beforehand, that there is on April 1st, a Trans Day of Vengeance, Stop Trans Genocide, Trans Day of Vengeance, where they are telling people to, if you can see on the bottom, assemble at the Supreme Court, wear a mask, bring a buddy. So again, wear a mask. This isn't for COVID purposes. This is for the purposes of nobody seeing who you are.
And where is that event?
At the Supreme Court, at the foot of this, Washington, D.C. Yeah. So this is the mentality that's leading in, because people think that we are creating this mass genocide on transgenders. And I always want to preface this, not because I'm being a dick, but because I think it's important. I think a transgender is equal in the eyes of God as a human to all of us. This is a flaw. This is a mental health issue. This is something that I can't imagine feeling as though that I belong in a different body. And I think there's so many different causes for it, all the way from the sexualization of children, the shitty books that they're feeding them, the woke ideologies that we've been letting slip through the cracks in our education. And then you add all the chemicals in our food that we have the highest level of pharmaceuticals, highest level of chemicals, most amount of banned substances in our food compared to other countries. All of this has led us here. So that's why I understand the plight of the transgender. The genocide has nothing to do with people like us saying there's something wrong with you, let's find a way to fix it. That's it. There's but creating this narrative that the mainstream media have created that thinks that we are attacking transgenders is the reason that shit like Nashville happens.
So Anthony, here's the definition of genocide. So clearly they don't even know what the word means. The deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or that group. This is not a genocide. There is no one's being killed.
They kill themselves at the highest rate.
Correct.
And again, it's anywhere from 37 to 42% pre-surgery or post-surgery. There is no difference.
The last 5 mass shootings in this country, they were all part of that same community. Like, this is a mental health crisis. Period.
And they're blaming it on guns. And again, I do have to ask the stupid question: what would gun control have done in this circumstance?
Nothing.
If
they want to get a hold of a weapon, they can get a hold of a weapon.
Because there's no way to this is the utopia. So the government plays on the likes of the leftists in this country, saying we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. There is only one way to rid this country of mass shootings, and then you would of course have mass stabbings. But there's only one way, and that is to remove every gun from every nook and cranny with magnets and metal detectors, etc. All of these things.
Well, that's basically what Randy Weingarten suggested today in a video.
But then
abolish the Second Amendment.
Right, and then by abolishing the Second Amendment, you have to find a way. And again, I'll listen to that thought process. You want to get rid of all guns, and you want to pretend as though we don't have to protect ourselves as a well-oiled militia, and you just want to rid it so we can't shoot each other. Great. How are you going to, from a practical standpoint, where I want to look at somebody in the eye, how are you going to get the guns from every gangbanger in the hood? How are you going to get the guns from every mentally ill person that has illegally registered firearms? White, black, purple, Asian, I don't care. How are you going to do it? It is an impossibility. So shut up and let's find practical ways to fix the problem in schools, such as take some money from Ukraine and actually arm the schools, or pay for metal detectors. I hate to say it. This is the world we live in. We live in a sick world. We want to decrease shootings. Pay for every public school, private school has to have a metal detector. I guarantee you do all of these things and employ either previous military or police officers at all the 88,000 schools across the country, 100 and something if you include private. It's still less money than we are sending to a foreign country to fight a war we should have nothing to do with.
Yeah. Here's the thing with this is like, we're living in complete denial of accepting mental illness as a problem. Mental illness is a problem. And we have to start talking and addressing it. And Russo, I sent it to you because Grant Cardone doesn't get involved in this stuff. And for him to tweet that yesterday blew me away.
What did he tweet? What did he say again?
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at that as well.
When he tweeted, hang on one sec, I will. Right, where did it go? Dang it. Anyways, he tweeted yesterday that something about mental illness is a thing. It exists and we have to address it, or something like that. And he doesn't talk about that stuff. Did we lose him? So you and your stupid thing.
That's me.
Let's see. Grant Cardone. Let's pull up. Oh, he did another one today. Oh, snap. Let's share this. Is that what you're talking about, Russo? You're back.
I know. I was frozen. I said Grant Cardone got suspended.
Grant Cardone tweeted this today. Holy crap. Grant Cardone does not get involved in this stuff at all.
Well, he's been getting a lot more vocal than the last year and a half about what's been going on in this country.
Yeah. See, and overall, when it comes to mental illness, we have to accept it and start working to a solution. Mental illness is not just the transgender stuff. It also applies to the homeless crisis that we have. It applies to a lot of other areas. We have to start accepting that we have a problem that we need to address, and it will address a lot of the issues that we're dealing with at the moment. When it comes to guns, everybody wants to blame the guns because it's easy, and it's not the solution. It is never the solution to blame the gun. We do not blame a tool in any other way. Because I'm fat, I do not blame the spoon. So we have to start looking at holding each other accountable and accountability for actions. And I I think this is going to be justifying. This is interesting. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. Do you think this transgender movement is being pushed so much to possibly give the government reason to put in red flag laws and mental illness checks in our healthcare system to take control guns of when we can purchase guns?
Are you saying the trans thing?
Mhm.
No, I think that's, to them, this is just a bonus. I think this is don't let a good crisis go to waste. I think across
So it's on capitalize on top of it.
I think they're capitalizing. And his tweet was, I thought his account was suspended. I guess it's because my internet. Quit normalizing the trans thing. It ain't normal. Call me what you want.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and he's made a couple posts in the last 24 hours. He also had are we for or against banning guns? And 17% buy guns, said no to guns, and 83% said keep them. So, I mean, so here, this is where I'm going to play contrarian. I'd like your guys' opinion on this. Teresa, thank you very much. As always, I appreciate you. So what's interesting about this, and this is actually, it was while I was looking for that, there was a tweet that came up. This guy that I don't know, I follow people that make me want to poke my eyes out. Brian Cranstein says, imagine being a straight white man on Twitter attacking do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Attacking the LGBTQ community over yesterday's mass shooting, when over 77% of mass shooters in the U.S. over the last 10 years were straight white men, even though they make up 20% of the populace. 27% is straight white. Well, I guess, okay, that makes sense. Imagine being so ignorant that you have to use this strategy to try attack already marginalized group of Americans. Imagine being so ignorant and doing so you don't even realize that the group you're in is actually one of the causing the most problems. This is actually an incorrect statement. There's not going to be any fact check on it. It depends what you consider mass shooting. If you consider school shootings or if you consider mall shootings, yes. And this leads me to my next point. When you start to look at the deaths of children 0 to 18, there was an infographic from the New York. What do you got there, Dave? What are you looking at? Transgender killer targets Christian school. And that's a big fact.
It's the most honest headline that we've seen about this whole thing.
And it's 100%. From New York Post.
And yeah, well, the New York Post has been pretty good for the last couple of years. And that also, even the police chief said the exact same thing, said that this was a targeted attack. This person used to go to the school. So anyways, here's my question, because I do think it falls into race a little bit. So it is not white men, unless you're talking specifically about school shootings. But if you look at the deaths in children 0 to 18, there was an infographic from New York Times shared out by, I think, Yahoo, whatever it was. No, CDC. It was a CDC graphic shared by New York Times that showed that the deaths in children, and we're not seeing a lot of black kids being killed in school shootings. Homicides amongst children for gun crime, gun related, is astronomically higher in the black population. So it is at 1,500 homicides in the black population under the age of 18 in 2022. The white line actually has gone down in the last 5 years in terms of white kids getting killed. So yes, we are paying massive attention to 3 dead children, tragic, 3 dead adults, tragic, transgender shooter, dead, don't care, to be honest. And meanwhile, in that same frame of time, I would beg to the argument to say that there is probably, based on 1,500 a year, you break that down, there has been 5x the amount of black children killed in the streets or in their own mass shootings. Because technically a mass shooting is anytime 3 or more people are shot, according to the FBI statistics. So this is a blatant lie by Brian. So you are ignoring the actual biggest problem, and we're looking at this, and you can look at this as systemic racism. We're caring more about and this is the systemic racism is fueled by the left. We're caring more about these 6 dead white people than we are about the probably 20 to 30 black youths that have died in the same amount of time. But we ignore it because we can't talk about black on black crime. If you want to fix a gun problem, then fix the black community in terms of the guns, and fix the illegal firearms. This is literally just fodder and media, like Casey said, for red flag laws.
And let's be honest with ourselves, right? 30 to 50 people are killed every single weekend, murdered by gun violence in Chicago over a weekend, over a 2-day span. Is that not a mass shooting? 50 people.
That 100% is.
Secondly, if this female, trans man, whatever he or she identifies as, took 2 AK-47s and walked down the streets of Southside Chicago and opened fire and killed 3 young African-American men, do you think we would be getting the same news coverage that we're getting right now?
Is it?
No.
Wait, is the shooter black or white?
Just same shooter.
No, same shooter.
Yes,
You do?
because it's a white shooter.
Nope.
Oh, it's not just any white shooter.
But it's a female and it's transgender.
Oh, if it was a handgun, I would say no. People put your ideas in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I think it would have been covered because then they could play a card. They could play the assault rifle, and they can play the race card. So it depends how many cards they can play. If it was a black kid, no. Or if black adult, no.
Well, here's the thing. They can't do it because they're trying to get these two groups together. LGBTQ alphabet group with Black Lives Matter group, trying to get them together to where they are bigger. They would never paint this narrative to try to point out that there is a divide in that group. They wouldn't do it. I don't see the media playing out on it at all. But one thing I want to point out, you want to notice, all of the news coverage of this really struggles with describing who this person is, if it's a male or a female. You didn't have this problem with any other transgender situation. They were all, oh, that male is a female. That is a female. It was never misconstrued or struggled to actually get it out of people's mouth. But this one, they have really struggled with.
New York Times apologize. New York Times apologized for misgendering. Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to pull that up, Anthony. Chad Prather made that tweet.
Yeah, and it's a real. The
New York Times apologized for misgendering the individual that killed 6 in an elementary school. No comment needed. I'll just let that speak for itself.
This is real. And I mean, we've always acknowledged transgenderism, but this was a girl. This was a female, a 28-year-old female that shot.
What that person's going to realize is that they don't have pronouns in hell. This is exactly where this person belongs. And there is no apology needed for that person at all for doing the deed that they did. They are not a human being, first and foremost. So they don't even get to have the choice to choose who they identify as because they're not human. They're evil. Correct.
Yeah, that person doesn't deserve any respect at all.
None.
Zero.
None.
But it's the New York Times. So what do you? What did you really expect? Of course they apologize.
You know,
I had no idea that happened.
That's real. That is real. I just when you look at the overriding picture behind it and the attack on Christianity, this confusion of gender and the mental illness that goes behind it. And the kids' gloves we have to wear that's even New York Times is wearing in terms of talking about it. This is a creation of our own doing where because we're not allowed to talk about true mental illness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm going to be transparent here, and I'm not going to name names but we have this topic very close in our immediate sphere and family. That we're dealing with. And so, it's a sensitive topic for sure. I'm a loving, kind, welcome human being. I will speak my mind and I will stand my ground with what my beliefs and my truth and where my line in the sand is. But I will not disrespect or dishonor or degrade someone who is face to face with me or even over social media or anything else. It's just not who I am. But the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. And you can't take away bend and start taking away women's rights. I mean, women have been fighting this to get rights and benefits and all these things and recognition for decades in this country. And all of a sudden, like, men are swooping in and getting a trophy because because they're swimming in an event and there's only one trophy. And you heard about this, right? The swimmer, the Leah Thomas, they both ran swam the same speed in the race. But the NCAA said we only have one trophy, so it was a women's event, so we're giving it to the man.
With
Like
penis.
they just over the last 2 months, we heard about women of the year not giving it to a biological man. I mean, there has to be some line in the sand here, and I'm not trying to be mean or cruel. It's just like
there's certain things I wish I could be better at a certain I wish I could have played baseball, but there's a certain level where I cap out. And just not understanding that. And people kept saying, Leah Thomas, it's an outlier. It's not going to happen again. Now you've got high school track people. You've got was it track? You've got fighting. You've got it in volleyball. You've got international running. So this little thing that you thought was only Leah Thomas is now spreading across in athletics. It's unfair. It's stupid. Now, I don't know if anybody
think about this, Anthony. It's spreading across mass shootings. I was listening to Fox News when this happened. And there's the expert who covers all the mass shootings on Fox News. He's like, and I guarantee you this is a male shooter because they're all male shooters. It wasn't. It was a female shooter who identified as male because she's on hormone therapy and someone else just got lambasted because she said the congresswoman, whatever, got ridiculed because she said this could have been the reason that triggered this person to because you have all these chemicals and all these hormones going through your body, like you're not sane, you're not acting normal,
right?
Like who knows? So it's just it's really fascinating to me. And when I heard where it happened, I was listening to it like just minutes after it happened and it was announced. I immediately said that this was a leftist driven attack.
Yeah. Okay, so probably because CNN's trying not to cover it, William. This was a female that was trying to become a male. I actually missed about. Is he talking about what you said, or are we talking about the shooter?
I don't know what he's referring to.
I think he's referring to the shooting today or yesterday. So real quick, let's pop through this and let's end let's get to the last topic and finish it up. Attack on Christianity, because the police chief said it was an attack on a Christian school specifically targeted because of her
attendance.
Her attendance.
At the school.
We'll get to this in a second, but this is my note on this. Has there ever been a trans man wanting to be a woman trying to compete with a man? It can't happen. There is no way that they would ever. There's been some high school students that have gone into long distance running and they've gone from being the best on their team to not even being on varsity. So it doesn't happen. This is where it gets scary. So men can go compete as women because we're allowing that. Women can't compete as men. So what happens? They become a little bit stronger. Their testosterone levels are higher. So now this is the sport they're apparently able to fill in on, which is unfortunately this sickness. Anyways, so I want to address this real quick. Remember when there's a bill to expand mental health services, all but one Republican voted against it. Not sure what bill you're talking about. But we are allowed to talk about mental health because we've talked about mental health. Just because some of the politicians don't, and going back to, and before I say that the Republicans were wrong for whatever bill you're erroneously bringing up, let's not forget what we talked about earlier when you weren't watching about TikTok. We want TikTok banned. What did the government do? They added enough pork to fill up a whole fucking belly of bacon. I don't know where I'm going with the food reference, but they fill it up so ridiculously that there is reasons why you have to vote no. And they use that from a political standpoint to have morons like you go, Republicans didn't want mental health. No, they didn't want the other 742 fucking pages.
Correct.
Sorry, Nancy.
And that's the hard thing that the left struggles to understand. Most Republicans actually do support mental illness help, but not on a federal level. They want to see it at a state level. And they also do not believe that you solve a homeless issue by giving people homes. You actually help them become a civil citizen of society. That is how you actually help them do that. Not just give them whatever they're lacking in their life.
Yeah. I agree, William, but tell me how how you know that you don't know how government works without telling me. I agree with you, but unfortunately our government's so friggin' broken, left and right, all of them in terms of recreating.
That's what I was going to say, William. I mean your comment here Like, this is where all of us, most of us, 99% of Americans are in agreement, right? The way we conduct business in Washington is broken because of exactly what you just said. Like, if they could just, streamline these things and vote on the biggest issues, the most important pressing things that the American people actually care about and are actually demanding on social media and letters to Congress and everything else, and they just did single votes on these things, the most pressing things, we could get so much accomplished, and the American people would have so much more faith in our elected leaders in Washington if they just did this. But they never do it, and that's what's so frustrating. And I was kind of hopeful with this new House, because it seemed like we were getting back to regular order and some of this stuff was being taken care of. But to Casey's point, that bill on TikTok just passed the House with all this stuff in it that goes against our constitutional rights and First Amendment.
We just called out the Republicans. You can't.
Well, yeah, William. Here's the thing, dude.
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. They do the same stuff.
Like we literally do this all the time. We call out the Democrats 85% of the time, but we do talk shit about Trump sometimes. We do talk shit about. I just talked about Rand Paul. That's how we 20 started. Minutes ago. All right. So here's how we're going to end the show, because we're well over. My internet's probably choppy right now. Final positive speaking points is about the fact that. Tell everybody what you did in Utah. I'll talk about the Charlie Kirk event and all the different events I was at this week where you saw conservatism growing. So let's have a positive end. Actually, we'll go Dave first. Are you seeing anything positive in terms of the growth of awakening and conservatism?
Oh yeah, I've been seeing it for the past 2 years. It's not even, it's common sense. It's not even conservatism. It's just common sense and logic. It's like right and wrong. It's like, obvious and it's just clear as day. And if you just look at the stats and the polling on where people think our country is headed, whether the president is doing a good job or not, whether they have confidence in him, whether they think the country is moving in the right direction, it's so skewed, like 70-30 across all those fronts, that majority of America is fed up. And, Republicans don't have all the answers, but I sure as shit tell you right now that Democrats have very little answers at all besides playing the woke, virtue signaling, enabling big government is here to save you line. And doesn't work. It's not going to work, and it's just going to dig ourselves further. And I said it on an Instagram post I made earlier, not TikTok, because I'm not on it anymore. If things don't change quickly, we will be living in a Marxist hellhole.
Big time. Yeah. William, the fact that this is such an ironic comment. You are so biased you can't even see it in yourselves. William, respectfully, you are so biased that we literally just called out Republicans, and you tell us that we can't actually call it out ourselves. So the fact you're so biased to anything that we say because you automatically think we're wrong because we come from a more conservative-based ideology. With that said, there's a link in there, and in about 20 minutes, I'm gonna hop on with. And there's no trap. It's just me. There can be as many lefties come on as possible. If you guys are on the same side as me, I will boot you off the screen. So as I've always invited for different shows, this is it. I'm going for 30 minutes. If nobody comes on, I'm leaving. I'll do this again. But tonight is your night to tell me why I'm a bigot, racist, homophobe, transphobe, etc., and why Donald Trump's the worst thing that ever was created, and why January 6th really was an insurrection. The invite is there. The link is there. Save it. I will be on there in about 18 minutes. Casey, go ahead.
No, it's this weekend was wonderful, guys. It's getting together with Americans coming together. Like you guys all know, I'm not the biggest Trump supporter, and I was hanging out with a bunch of Trump supporters. I was also hanging out with a bunch of people that do not want to change the Utah state flag, even though I am not strictly opposed to the Utah state flag being changed. And it is okay. I still also signed the petition that they are putting together to put it on the ballot so the American people, well, the Utahns, can actually make the decision themselves instead of legislature doing it. You can get active in politics and use your voice and still disagree with people. You can do that. I did it all weekend. I was hanging out with people I disagreed with on topics. You just have to have a civil conversation, not treat people like William does, and actually understand and listen to their perspectives so you can have a civil conversation. So I encourage all of you to do the same thing in your communities. That's how you can help build up your communities and make our country better. We can't do it at the federal level. You have to start where you're at. And how you do that is getting together with the people around you.
Agreed. What I noticed, the Trump event was, again, I didn't even stay for the speech. I watched it on Newsmax. In total honesty and transparency, I was there promoting an event and just talking to people. And I noticed some things. Mainstream media only wanted to, they did not want to interview the more upper class looking Trump supporters, which were there. They wanted to target specifically the guy with the cutoffs and the chest hair coming out and like a nipple here and a tooth, 3 teeth missing. That's who they wanted to interview. Because they wanted to show that perspective. But across the board, the people there, incredibly kind. I of all ages, races, ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses. It was interesting. And when you got in conversation with some people, these were Trump voters. These were Trump supporters that were open to hearing the other side, open to hearing DeSantis, open to hearing some of the other Republicans like Vivek and hearing what they have to say. These were not only Trumpers. This wasn't part of a cult. I did see one girl getting interviewed. Don't know the news group that it was, talking about the fact that she likes Trump, but she wishes he would watch his mouth more. All the things that normal people that are the bulk of the conservative party say, like he's got his flaws, and these cultists admitted that. And that's a huge thing. Whereas again, I just don't see it as much on the left. There's a lot of lefties now that are starting to say Biden's not great, but so maybe there's an awakening happening. And then I went to 2 TPUSA events, which are actually my favorite thing that I've been to. I saw Will Witt speak. He was great. I asked a question. He answered a question that I didn't expect somebody of the age of 26 to be able to answer so incredibly articulately and well. Regarding the tribalism in Christianity or in conservatism, and do we need to make patriotism cool again? And he's like, no, we need to make leadership cool again. Be leaders, and they will follow. You don't have to do cool stuff. You don't need to highlight the LGBTQ and partying and drinking. You have to find a way to be leaders to the point where this is how you want to live life. Follow me if you want a better country. That was great. And lastly, Charlie Kirk took a room where they had to turn people away. 500 plus people at TCU. Adults, but a lot of students. There was some adults there, probably like 100, turning people away because it was so packed, and getting in there and seeing what he had to say and how he said it, and how his one thing, and this goes into the fact that I've got open office hours right after this. The fact that he went out there and said, if you have an opposing viewpoint, because he's got the line of people, you get to go to the front of the line. Tell my team, you go to the front, and on top of it, if you're speaking, everybody in this room, you be kind. We listen. We do not mock. We do not boo. We allow them to have an opposing viewpoint. Please show me where the left will do anything like that event. They won't, because the right encourages conversation and a difference in opinion. The left does not. Period. Hard stop.
Well, to be fair, our political arena from the presidential standpoint, we don't promote that. We actually encourage it in debates. Yeah. We encourage those type of things, and that's where that culture comes from.
Yep. So that's all I got, guys. The StreamYard for those that want to join later that are only left. Starting like 15 minutes. The show ran long. Kelly's gonna kill me.
It's funny, Anthony. If you ask anyone, pretty much anybody, you just went up to them, like, what are they, like those guys on the street, like on what is it? Jesse Waters does it all the time.
Yeah.
And you just ask someone who's a liberal or a Democrat or anyone, he just said, hey, would you like to have smaller government, less taxes, and more freedom? And most people would say yes.
Yeah.
So why are there Democrats? Like, if most of us believe in that, like, why isn't that the shiny object on top of the hill that we're all striving for, right? And so people like Charlie Kirk, us who are on this panel tonight, whatever, and on all these other, it's not so much about, patriotism. It's about having true pride in your country and what it stands for and the American values. And it's our country. It's for us. It's for the people. And so it's not about big government. It's not about us paying exorbitant amount of taxes. It's not about having our freedoms and rights taken away from us. It's the opposite. And if you stand up for the opposite, then we can build the biggest tent imaginable and literally take our country back. Right. But we have to like get out of these echo chambers and start realizing like what do we really individually want as a society, as a group.
Well, as a group on the show, we want you guys to go to the Great American Summit. You can see that on the bottom, greatamericansummit.com. Get your discounted tickets with GAS23. That's 10% off. Again, we need the support. If you are somebody that wants to have a bigger presence, a sponsorship, or any of those kinds, please email us, message us. You can find our messaging. Simple as that. You can also go to the website. There's a sponsorship inquiry on there. We could use all the help we can, guys. God bless. Have a great rest of your evening. And remember, the truth will always set you free. Take it easy, guys.